Timothy. I think, yeah, that's us now. Hello, Converse Contender. Hello, Critical, and the other few people who are watching. I appreciate you all coming back. Although, Converse, I'm still unsure of whether I appreciate you or not because I am nervous as fuck. As I was saying to Lilith earlier about the whole debate thing, yeah, it's Converse that decided, well, not decided it, but yeah, I'm blaming him. Is the Super Bowl happening?
Yes. Yeah, the Super Bowl, Atheist Experience is on. The Super Bowl is happening. And apparently there's a Puppy Bowl, too, which I'm going to watch the replay of because they have, for part of halftime, on, you know, when it's not the halftime show, they'll have this little Puppy Bowl where they'll put a bunch of puppies in a tiny recreation of a football field, American football field, you know, for Nancy's. But then they, you know, they run around and don't have a fucking clue what they're doing. And, they, you know, there's a kitty halftime show where there's little kittens, you know, playing with sparkly balls and everything and climbing. And it's just, it's fucking adorable. And, you know, sometimes you need a little bit of adorable. The world's pretty fucked.
I totally agree with you in that. We went to an open farm quite recently to get all cuddly and, you know, animals and all the rest of it with the child, and because we went there last year and then we went this year, and last year she scared I'm not going to say Komodo dragon, but it was one of them, you know, it's a big the damn thing's as big as she is. She's banging the ground and it's running away. This open farm actually took the animals out, you know, and let you interact with them. And she scared this Komodo dragon type thing. She then wanted the tarantula out, and I don't mind spiders, but I did not want a fucking 6-inch wide diameter tarantula. No, child wants it. Oh no, the baby wanted it, so I had the child in one arm, and I had the tarantula running up the other arm. We went back this year. She wouldn't even go into the building when we took the animals out. She ran. She chased the cat, you know, ran away with the cat.
There is no creature on earth that I love enough to hold a tarantula. Because they want me to. Nope. Things which have 8 legs are an abomination.
I don't even refer to spiders. I have a one in one corner just here above the lamp in the living room, and it keeps the flies down. Maybe it's an old-fashioned Irish thing, but I'll always have at least one spider in the house, and I don't refer to them as spiders. I refer to them as George. Leave little George alone. Wee George. That's why I don't want my wee girl to be afraid. I try not to implement my fears on her.
That's the nice thing. I probably would have had less fears if, well, some people had followed that advice.
Yeah. As I said earlier, my woman lives with the child one day and a half more than I do, and more meals, obviously. And my wee girl used to love onions, and now won't eat onions, because she's been watching my woman who hates them. You know, kids pick things up.
They do. And I mean, I can't even necessarily blame her because I hate onions, but onions they kind of hate me too.
She hates onions.
So, I do!
No, you hate onions.
Hey, they do very unkind things to me.
Sorry, it's just a funny thing I do sometimes here. I kick people for the crack. It means I like you. You're alright. If I kicked you from the stream completely, would not like you.
It's something very much, it's British, but it's also, I think, a bit, you know, Scottish and Irish, or just the entire, the islands, where you sort of, if you like someone, you take the piss out of them a little bit.
Yeah. It can go too far, but yes, I totally agree with you on that.
Right. No, and you got to be careful about that, because my sister, like I said, moved to England, about Yorkshire area.
Oh, you're joking me.
No!
Would you believe that, did you notice in the chat earlier, there was a person in the chat referring to themselves as God the Good One?
Mm-hmm.
God the Good One's from Yorkshire. God lives in Yorkshire.
Well, that's it.
Yes, Rory.
I was born in Sheffield, so I can actually call myself a Yorkshireman.
Well,
Rory,
that's excellent.
are you up for Dave Con, Rory? Would your old hip take it if you drove that lovely, beautiful green car of yours down? How far away are you from London?
I'm about 100 miles west of London now.
100 miles.
Yeah.
Oh man, an hour and a half. 2 hours in that car.
Well, I wouldn't even try. I don't even drive to London anymore. It's not worth it. To get into it, it's an hour and a half to the M25, but then it can take me another hour or two, to get into like the city of London.
See, that's right. I forget that. It's stupid because motorways were built to speed up traffic, and all they did was put more people on more roads and cause more fucking traffic, which is stupid. Personally, the way I work a system is if it's 60 mile away, it'll take me an hour. Because on average, I'll be 70 mile an hour in some spots and 40 mile an hour in other spots. But if it's 60 mile away in Northern Ireland, it takes an hour. That's the average here. Fuck traffic. I'd rather drive 10 extra mile than get stuck in traffic. Do you drive, Lilith?
I don't have a car currently, but I do drive. Have a license, have driven all the time. I like standards. I know a lot of people in North America drive automatic, and that's fine. I can do that. But if it doesn't have, I'll steal this for the Christians. If it doesn't have a clutch, it's not a real fucking car.
Yeah. If it doesn't have a fucking stick, I've drove automatics, and people say once you go automatic, you'll not go back. It depends on the automatic box. No, I couldn't drive an automatic. I've drove my car that high into the red that's just cut out because she ain't getting enough fuel to the third cylinder. That was my choice to do that. Fuck you and your automatic box.
It's fucking boring. I zone out. I cannot pay attention for the length of time. You gotta understand, in Canada, we're a good bit more spread out than you are.
Oh, no. Yeah, what you have in Canada, I think, is twice as many people as what we have in all of Northern Ireland, but you're the size of America.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I am currently living on Vancouver Island. I'm pretty sure this one island is the size of, Britain at the very least, possibly the entire United Kingdom. Yeah. I have to look. But, yeah, you fucking driving an hour to get somewhere, par for the fucking course.
Oh yeah, no, I have no problem in driving. That's one of the reasons why I met my woman. Good woman, I'll drive her. She's only 2 hours away. I have to move there and live up there and build a house up there because, according to her, driving 2 hours in one day is just too much stress. It's like...
I grew up in British Columbia, not on the island, a little more central. But we had extended family, aunts and uncles and grandma and all that out in Alberta. We would drive over the Rocky Mountain Pass. It's about 10 hours of driving if you're not racing. Like, you could do it in 8 easily, but when you've got kids, it can be as much as 12. And, so one car, 5 of us, 10 to 12 hours, depending on how often we had to stop. We did that. Granted, that was a long trip, but it wasn't unheard of.
Oh no, I totally agree. My mother's the exact same. Like we mentioned earlier about building the house, I'm going to have to build a wee granny house, 1 bedroom, 1 living room, 1 thing at the bottom of the garden. For when my mother drives up, because it'll be 2.5 hours for her. She doesn't drive that fast. She'll not want to drive 2.5 hours up and then 2.5 hours home, because that's an entire work day spent. So she'll come up and then stay. My justification for it is do something similar to what my mum did with me when the child hit 18, kick them out, charge them rent. And teaches them responsibilities. It teaches them, this is the market.
It gives them a little privacy, but also lets you help them, but also in a learning kind of a way. I like it.
Yeah, oh no, my mother did that to me, and then whenever I moved out after charging me rent for 2 odd years, from the moment I started, when I was 14, I started bringing in a full-time wage. My mother charged me 25% of my wages for rent. Approximately. That's what it usually worked out as. So if I made 80 quid, she'd take 20 off me. When I made 1,000, she'd take 250 quid off me. and she charged me 25% of my rent for when I lived there for 4 years. And then when I moved out, when me and my mum came to the agreement that I must move out, she gave me half of that back as a deposit on a rental.
Oh, isn't that lovely?
But it taught me responsibility. It taught me to pay my bills, you know, and then it gave me a deposit when I moved out. Obviously, she did take a lot, you know, she spent it as it came in, but whenever I moved out, she gave me money that she had in savings, which was the guts of half of it back again to pay for my deposit.
Right.
Which got me on the ladder and got me started. Now that wasn't a mortgage, that was rental, but
still, you gotta get out. You gotta get references. You gotta get a name for yourself. That sort of thing.
It was a 2-bedroom flat with a 2-bedroom house with a kitchen that small that it wouldn't hold a fridge in it, and a second bedroom that was that small wouldn't hold a single bed bigger than a baby's bed. So I had the fridge in it. And I didn't even have, honest to fuck, you had to walk through the living room and into the back room to get the fucking milk and then back into the kitchen again. It had a bench, a sink and a cooker, and it didn't even have central heating or electric heating or anything. It had what we would call Economy 7. Do you know what that is, Rory?
Yes, I used to have Economy 7 with those night storage heaters.
Yeah, Economy 7, Lilith, is pretty much just bricks in a radiator that electrically heated and then send out the heat. It's shite.
It is completely, because what happens, Lilith, is you benefit from this cheapened electricity overnight, which then heats up the bricks in the radiator. But then, of course, you go to work in the morning and you come back and there's no heat from them, or hardly any. Yeah. So you have to put the fire anyway, you know?
There was no fireman, no fireplace.
I had a fireplace, thankfully.
Oh no, I had no fireplace. I brought in a super serve. Yeah, I know, totally. A super serve, I don't know if you know what that is, Lilith, but that's a tank of gas that you light a flame in the very front, and if you close all the doors and kept the heat in, you'd probably suffocate from carbon monoxide poisoning. It's illegal to have them in the house now. Like,
I don't doubt it. Actually, there was a power outage when I lived in Toronto, and it's too bad I couldn't get proper internet, because there was this one... was a way to heat a room, because ceramic does tend to absorb and give off heat at a good rate. And people had come up with this this is shortcut, basically, like if you're stuck and you're fucked and you got no heating and you got to get people. So you go into like a smallish room, and this is going to be the room where we're warm. And you take a bread pan and put a couple of tea lights in it.
Yeah.
And then you take two
I've seen that.
the ceramic flower pots, one a bit smaller than the other.
I've built that.
Yeah. You put the one and you put the little tin foil, and then you put another one on top, and it sort of does this with the heat and the air and all that.
That is shocking, because I actually have looked that up on YouTube, and I did build one of them back in the day, Lilith, to see. Yeah.
How good was it?
Huh?
How good was it?
In the small room, it was okay. But like this house was back to the story wherever when I said about being back to the interview story. I mentioned it in the interview. Sorry, about being found and being stuck, and my mother coming in and finding me. My ma found me like sleeping on the sofa with the dog in front of the super serve with no food or fuck all in the house, because I was determined to do everything on my own. And she's like, "You need help." That's the bank of mummy is a thing over here. It is, because the people in the top right-hand corner of this stream ruined it for us all. You baby boomers ruined it for us all.
It's true. Like, when they started, the baby boomers were the original, like, flower child, peace-loving. It was awesome. But then a bunch of them went and became the man, and went and got rid of all the things that their parents had fought for, that got people.
I'll actually send you a video I watched from the Royal Institution. Do you know what the Royal Institution is?
Oh yeah.
Released the other day, Boomer Economics and what actually happened. And it's not down to the fact that they were assholes, it's down to the fact that there were so many of them. The average baby, the amount of babies born per year was something like 1.4 million a year when in the baby boomer time. Right now we're sitting at less than 700,000. And having that amount of people gives you political power, gives you power in economics, plus medical science got
Still
better.
got rid of the fucking unions.
That was an explanation between the Thatcher thing. They actually mentioned that. This is a very, very good video on boomer economics, done by a boomer who actually stands up for the millennials and stuff like that, and gives a reason why. And he is one himself. It's a very good video. I would definitely recommend it. Just look up the Royal Institution on YouTube. I think it's only out the other day.
I will, because that's the thing. If the unions were still around, then people could still make a life for themselves. That, I mean, it's not necessarily wealth or anything. You're not going to become a fucking, tycoon if you take that route. But you can build a good, healthy life. You can, save up. You can have nice things occasionally. It's like in proportion. But yeah, we don't have that option. There's a lot of people that just didn't.
There's a lot of economics to take into consideration as well. Now, I'm a big fan of graphs. MathPig being MathPig, I love me some graphs, because graphs are a visual representation. And it's very poignant and stands out. And if you look at the graph, and it was 3 different stacked on top of each other, 3 different colours, and there's a representation of what's coming in, what's going out, relative to age, relative to when people are born. And medical science has also increased so much that the average age is running on, and from what we're bringing in, the costs of the NHS and things like that is running out of control. Taxes also have to go up then to try and compensate for the NHS costs.
But if wages aren't going up,
yes,
you can't fucking pay it.
Oh, no. You see, this is the thing. It's actually leveled off now at the point. So a pensioner now who has no job bringing in their average pension is making the same amount of money as an average person in and around 22 or age 22 doing a full-time job, and they are bringing in the same amount of money. Now the thing about it is, they are taking from the system over the course of their retirement £250,000, but because of the way it worked when they brought it in, they have only actually put into the system something like 120, 130,000. Now don't get me wrong, old people do deserve to be looked after, but it has got to the point now where old people is not synonymous with poor. In this country now, we're talking UK, we're talking UK here. But it used to be that when you were old, you were poor. It's not that way now at the minute. And it has that we've fallen back. The bank of mummy, I've used that phrase for years. This was mentioned in the lecture. It is something that we fall back on. Houses were relatively cheaper compared to what we are now. It's harder to get on to the actual line.
The place where I live now, I am able to live at all because my friend knew someone who needed to get someone to help pay their mortgage when they were getting a divorce. And basically all inclusive, because it was just fucking easier for him. That's how I have a place to live. I wouldn't because I had to move across Canada, which, you can imagine, it's a bit like moving across Russia. But I had to do that while I was, still in the grips of a powerful illness and divorcing a lunatic, abusive asshole. So I lived with my parents for a while I was trying to get just the basics of that fucking sorted. Mm-hmm. Because I was like, I'm absolutely at my wit's end. A bit of an extreme situation but still, it had to be.
My mother, after my father left, my mother had savings that she had put aside for me and the brother to either get us started or buy a car, and that was whenever we were young. My dad left when, we're obviously young. And my mum needed that money to buy him out of the house, so there was no money left. And she worked 3 fucking jobs. And don't get me wrong, my mother's a cook by trade and now has her own business because of an accident. She couldn't continue to be a chef because she couldn't lift heavy things with her bad shoulder. And she now does ironing and washing from her house, where people come and deliver their clothes to her house. She charges a tenner an hour, which is dead on. It doesn't take her an hour to do a load, and she charges a tenner an hour funny enough, most of her customers are middle-aged men because the wife has went, I ain't doing your fucking laundry anymore. And rather than do it themselves, they bring it to my ma.
Hi, MathPig.
Yes.
Can I ask Lilith a question?
Of course, man. She's the star of the show.
About when you lived in Alberta, did you ever go to somewhere or know of a place called Glenbow Ranch Provincial Park?
Ooh.
It's between Calgary and Cochrane, I think.
Cochrane. I don't actually know that park by name, but I do know Cochrane. My grandfather lived there.
Okay, because the reason I asked was about 7 years ago now, an author of a book about the park, the provincial park, Glenbow Ranch, wrote to me and asked me if I had any information and photos from my family, and indeed I did, of my family back in 1888, and apparently they were some of the first settlers there. But anyway, he was very kind enough to actually send me a copy of the book, so I do have a slight connection with that area.
Oh, that's lovely. That's really lovely. I actually have a bit of a connection with England. Now, I have to say, this is not information I gathered. I've had family members doing studies on the ancestry of my family, and on my mother's side of the family, entirely through the matrilineal line, I believe we're related to somewhat. There was like a, not a duke, like earl or some titled gentleman, and yeah, I can't recall, but there was a fuss about because the wife left the husband, ran off with like the stable boy or the butler or something, and they and she and her children didn't make it to the reading of the will because of an accident, and so they didn't get anything, and it was all very dramatic. And then she ended up getting murdered, and her daughter ended up following a Canadian soldier to Canada, and then he died in the war, and she ended up marrying a farmer. This was farmer out on the prairies. And I've seen the house that they lived in, which was when my grandma was like 6 years old. And you've got the log
cabin.
Well, no, it's not a log cabin. Their first house was a log cabin, and then when they made a frame house, they took the logs and made the barn with it. And it's this abandoned house on the prairie, like way back. And you can still see those, the first dishwasher or laundry machine type of things where you hand crank and it's all this brilliant old technology. And I really miss my grandma. She was really cool because she got a Wii. She enjoyed. My cousins had a Wii, and she enjoyed it so much. She did a brain test your age, and she ended up being younger than her daughter, my aunt, tested at. So she thought it was the best thing ever, and so she got a Wii. And, but trying to explain to her how to use technology, she really did try, and she emailed and things, but after a while she was just like, the thing is, when I was a little girl, my brother brought home a box, and he's like, there's music in the box, and you put the earphones on and you could hear the music. And part of me is still that little girl going, there's music in the box.
Well, very, very quickly, it's funny because, my family arrived in April 1893, and they built a log cabin. And as the family grew, so did their holding of sheep, horses, and cattle. But in winter, they had to pile cattle dung around the walls of the house for insulation. It was so cold.
I believe it.
Before
Alberta.
I met my woman, if all else failed, what I was going to do was emigrate to Canada, find somewhere in the middle of the Yukon, and just fucking vanish with a good broadband connection, obviously, but just vanish into the middle of the Yukon. My mother and stepfather, when they both left their main jobs and were considering retiring, they did look into moving to Canada, and that was, my dad wanted to get a big block of land and raise some cattle and do that and just fuck away off from everybody, but they wouldn't take him because of his medical reasons. I think there was problems there.
Well, and raising cattle isn't an easy thing. I know that my uncle did it for a while, and I know a lot of people are still like, oh, you know, I guess they're going off of stats for what goes on in America with, you know, corn-fed cattle, and I'm like, no, here.
Oh, everything here's grass. Yeah, everything here's grass. No, we don't.
Yeah. Well, and we do have to buy them feed during the winter because the fucking ground is frozen solid.
We call that silage. We harvest grass during the year, mix it with their cow shite and all, and they call it silage.
Oh, but see, my uncle had land too, so you know how it is with farming fields. You know, you've got to let them rest every couple of years. So, of course, he has them on a rotation. And there's also land in between that's too uneven to plow, you know, gullies and things. So you just let them graze, let them, you know, go through and raise whatever grows in the resting and leave plenty of fertilizer and, you know, move about. And then, of course, he'd have to buy feed for the winter because frickin' it's very cold out here. You don't want to go all the way to the Yukon. You go to like mid BC, you can still find out in the boondocks areas, and you don't have to go all the way up because it's colder than you think. I know you think it's cold. It's still colder than you think.
Yeah, I don't like the cold that much. Well, Tug, Wonder Lady, thanks very much for joining. We've got Tug for a few minutes, so if Tug wants to say something or ask Lilith a question, I know he said we've only got him for a few minutes.
Please do.
Oh, I don't know. I just came in to chill.
Oh, yeah,
we're
all chill. Yeah, we can hear you, man. You're coming in clear as day. You didn't speed on the way home, did you? I hope not.
No, it was messed up. They sent me to an account that we don't even have yet. They haven't even done the walkthrough. So I'm trying to go in there and go to the place. I'm trying to figure out like how to get in because I'm like, there's no key, and I'm like, what am I doing here? And they're like, yeah, we haven't even started that account. I'm like, then why am I assigned to it? So I had to like drive back home, and I was like, oh man, but I gotta go back out here in a bit. I gotta drive out to another account that I had to do.
Well, money is money.
Frustrating.
And at least in America, you have nice big engine cars. I do love my car, but when I was in America, my most favorite part of being in America was the V6 that I did drive.
Power.
That's nothing, MathPig. I had an 8.2 litre 1976 Cadillac Eldorado convertible.
You see, that's why you should drive that lovely green car of yours down, man. It is. Dave, thanks for turning up as well, Dave. Wonder Lady. Yeah, do you want to say anything, Wonder Lady? Because you were in before, Dave. You get preference. You're special.
Oh, nothing pressing. Nothing I'm chomping at the bit with.
How are you, Dave? It's late enough for you, Dave, being up at 12:25. Not past your bedtime.
It's way past my bedtime, but I thought I had to come and say hello to Lilith. I don't normally get to actually talk to her. I just listen to her all the time.
Oh, well, it's wonderful to hear you. I know we chat all the time in the comments and on Twitter and everything. And yeah, no, it's good to see you. Or, well, not really see you. Hear you. I never get to hear you.
Dave does come on screen, but he's probably going to use the excuse he's using his laptop, and he's not at his desktop, and his laptop camera's not great.
Oh,
No, my laptop camera's broken.
It can't be as bad as my camera. My camera is shite.
No, I tried to install the thing that MathPig's using, and it bricked the camera.
This is me, just in case anyone thinks I don't exist. I actually do exist.
I thought you were a robot.
Yeah. And just while we have the camera up, everybody, buy your MathPig merch. Is it working? You know, is it working? Is it working? We've got a nice logo in the back and all, no?
Oh, that's nice. I like that.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah, the wee touch in the back special, isn't it? I've also got a cup that says "My mum held my wood," and that's a long story. But
That's quite the statement.
oh, Dave knows what I'm talking about. Tug should, because he does being Lucy in God's streams. I got a new fireplace.
mad.
I got a new fireplace that was absolutely massive, and I asked my mother to hold it while I took a picture of it, and it's solid oak. So there's a running joke that my mother held my wood for a picture of my girlfriend.
Oh, yikes.
I had a feeling it would be something innocent, but
Yes, it's completely innocent, and it got very funny because whenever someone mentioned it without me realizing, I fought back, and then they were like, didn't realize what I was saying. And
why exactly did your mother hold your wood?
see, exactly, Dave knows all about it, but then Dave's by, but we're not making a big thing about it.
Why was she holding your wood again?
Because my girlfriend wanted a picture of it. And it was statements like that that made it a joke.
Include a scalar bar.
And saying that now, Lilith, when I was doing up the merch, now the merch is free to do. You know, it doesn't cost anything to do. And I was putting my logo on the mug, and I was like, we're going to have to put something on the back of it. And the girlfriend was sitting behind me, and she was like, you should put that wood joke on the back of it. People will buy that. So all credit goes to her. She has a sense of humor as well.
So that's good. It's an important thing, finding someone with a sense of humor that gets you.
Oh yeah, no, she fucking hates me. Yeah, she sometimes I think, yeah, no. Yeah, she gets my sense of humor. She understands it and puts up with it, but I think that boils down to she gets it.
Yeah.
I think humor is the way to go to make any point, that you really want to get through. You're gonna have more success bringing up a subject or a topic that's controversial or maybe goes against what someone normally thinks.
Yeah.
If you use humor, I think it's a wonderful tool.
Yeah, and I used that, I guess I kind of used it to, the part of my brain that was rational and fighting to be free used it to wedge me out.
Uh-huh.
Oh, God, mental slavery is awful.
It is. But how do you change your own mind?
That's the thing is, yeah, and there's very intense programming in indoctrination. There's, honestly, part of the reason that I think religions are more successful broadly than cults, or that cults become religions if they live long enough, is that a cult is sometimes manipulative on purpose, usually, honestly. But the designed system is never as refined as the evolved system. So the mental gymnastics, the techniques that control your mind and implant the parasite but also insulate it, they become more subtle and developed. In Christianity, 2,000 years of developing that nuance and developing that, like the techniques that keep the mind enslaved, and different denominations branching off all the time. The most successful ones found a way to enslave enough people to keep themselves alive. That's how I view it. I view it as a parasite. We mentioned Thurman Trees briefly earlier. He has 2 videos called Degrading Love, parts 1 and 2, and he compares it to the parasitic cuckoo who lays its egg in the nest and basically hijacks the family instincts of another bird. And
well, Christianity didn't start off nuanced, though.
No,
it only became nuanced when there was the Protestant, basically influence.
Yeah.
Well, but there were a lot of different. You listen to Bart Ehrman talk about the different ideologies, the different doxies that there were, because orthodoxy is my doxy and heterodoxy is your doxy, and the different ideas that were eventually destroyed. The Ascetics and the Gnostics. The Coptics stayed alive only in Egypt, in general North Africa. but still were a minority. The Orthodox and Catholic broke off and became quite powerful. But I have to say, I've been thinking about the concept of the Trinity, because there were people saying Jesus was totally personal, like a God, totally 100% a God, and didn't have human failings or sufferings. And there were people saying that he was 100% man and didn't have, he was blessed by God and chosen by God and all the rest of it, but not, actually being God. And the Trinity was just a "you're both right," which was not satisfying to all of that group. And then those who wouldn't accept it got cut off. But I honestly think that part of the reason the Trinity doctrine was able to take over, or at least able to perpetuate over time, is because it's logically incoherent. And because you get people from their earliest years to affirm a direct logical contradiction, and that this is a necessary truth of dogma, it keeps them, it keeps them from recognizing other contradictions. It keeps them thinking that, or feeling at least, even if they don't state it consciously, that contradictions are okay when it comes to religion.
I wouldn't know.
Well, I always understood that Jesus was meant to have failings as a human, human failings, but he was still part of the Trinity.
Yeah, I understood that he didn't have any failings in the sense that he never sinned, but he was tempted as we are. So he was born without original sin, so he wasn't compelled to sin, but he was tempted to sin, but he never sinned.
I thought there was some sort of church type of meetings where they decided and debated whether or not Jesus was, a man or a god or a demigod and things like that.
Oh, there were.
It was done by counsel. It wasn't, it wasn't done by fact.
Richard, links in the chat, Richard, if you want to jump on.
100%. No, there were two Nicene councils.
There you go. Dave's back with a camera.
Hey, Dave.
Hello.
Hey, sweetie.
Hello. Oh, I'm gonna squeak.
No, but the little reading that I've done, that was college and it was over 30 years ago. So yeah, I'm that old.
Don't sound it.
I heard that, and this is from the Catholics. I heard this from when the Christian religion was first forming, and I do mean when they got the support of Rome or Constantinople, blah 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 blah. If you were the wrong type of Christian, or you were a different Christian sect, they killed you.
Oh yeah, and burned
just to
your
say, sorry, I'm just interrupting. I've been watching Dave for about 15 seconds since Sammy posted something in the chat, and the exact moment that Critical read it, I could see his face. It was like, oh yeah, there he read it.
Well, it's the first time I've seen Dave. Hi.
Dave's a sexy man.
Hello.
Faye, where are you, Faye? You in America? Or are you?
Well, I have to get. Okay.
Yes. I am in America, upstate New York.
So no Dave
Very
Conn.
close to Canada.
No Dave Conn.
Oh, you wouldn't say the other day for me. You wouldn't say, "Are we walking here?" or whatever that hell that one is.
What?
What are they meant to say in movies from New York? I'm walking here.
Oh. I don't know the movie. I don't watch movies.
Me and
I
Sammy
don't
are
really
on the
like
same
movies that much.
I thought it was a trope. I thought it was in lots of movies.
I know Trevor Noah talked about it a lot. He has that in one of his comedy routines. I watch comedy. Does that count?
Can.
I like his comedy on being black and coming to America.
Oh yeah, he's a riot. I finally get to America. I thought I'd be black. I'm Mexican. He gets there. He's been practicing his American black on the airplane. He's ready to go. He's ready to roll. And someone in the airport or whatever walks up to him speaking Spanish, and he's like, "What?" And apparently he looked Spanish to them, and because the guy was like, "We gotta stick together," and he's going, "What are you talking about?
Who are you?
I don't speak Spanish." And the other one's like, "You should be ashamed." He goes, "What? I'm African." It's like, aw, that's adorable.
Did you watch him on QI?
Oh yeah, of course I did.
When he was talking to Sandy Toksvik.
I am a big fan of QI. But the one I saw, Steven was the host and Sandy was on, and they were both melting because he sang. He did a click song, and they were just like, "Oh, I'm on the turn." Or at least she was. She was like, "I'm on the turn," and I'm going, "Oh, how cute!"
I need to watch more British TV.
Oh yeah.
QI is definitely worth. I mean,
Yeah,
I wouldn't
QI
recommend
is-
that much British TV, but QI is up there.
QI is up there. I watch What I Like to
Black
Do.
Books.
Uh,
Have you seen Black
Cats
Books?
This is a bit odd.
I
What?
do watch Black Books, and I'm
I
a
enjoy
big,
Black Books,
big
but it's a bit odd.
fan.
Black Books is amazing. Bill Bailey is amazing.
Funny. Oh, he's
do like
one of
Bill
my
Bailey.
favorite comedians.
Yeah.
Bill Bailey.
The fact
Oh
that he
my
does the
goodness.
music and all and brings the music and Bill Bailey as a comedian and doing stand up is fantastic. But Black Books, I don't like The Office. I'm not a big fan of the IT Crowd is good. Now watch the
I like
IT
IT
Crowd. It is very, very good. But Black Books is just, I don't know, maybe I'm being biased because it's an Irish drinker as one of the main characters, but
I love him, by the way.
I would be, and people don't get this, but if, I'll be somewhere, maybe in one of the depots at work, and there's a running joke around work where they don't really wash their teacups. They give it a rinse and they throw the water out, and it's brown on the inside and all the rest of it. And every now and again, I lift a cup and go, "Dusty cups," and nobody gets it.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh my.
not enough people have watched Black Books.
I'm sorry. Canada. I blame Canada.
Everyone
Blame
does.
So did
Canada
South
for
Park.
what?
Song about it.
So
When
did
we're
South
not
Park.
having British TV so accessible.
I watch it on the internet. I don't have television.
Yeah, no, I know. I can. I've
Since
got.
I got involved with the atheist community, do you know what I've watched on TV in the past year?
I don't
Doctor
know.
Who.
Yay!
No,
That's
don't,
it.
We're not making this a
TV.
Doctor Who stream because Doctor Who's one of the worst sci-fis out there.
I watched The Big Fat Quiz of the Year.
You're right. You're right. I did, but I watched it. I streamed it.
I love the way everyone just ignored the fact that I just put that down and just continued to talk
I was
all
trying to
about it.
decide whether or not I was going to garrot you when we meet.
You're gonna what?
Garrot you.
Corrupt me?
Garrot.
Garrot.
What's that?
AKA put a wire around your
Can
neck.
it wire
and
around your neck?
Asphyxiate you.
Oh, right. No, okay. No, I never got Doctor Who. I just never got... No, I'll be honest, when it did come back, after being off from the 60s or 70s or whatever, I give it the first season. And then I give it like 3 episodes of the second season. I thought it got boring and a wee bit, fucking who cares? And then I stopped
I like
watching.
the first.
Different doctors since then, though.
I like the first 3 Doctors, and I'm talking about the originals.
No.
Oh,
I
wait, the
like
4th Doctor
Baker.
I like too, but from then on, and just,
I have a
some of the
very-
writing was really like I hated Rose, and I hated the whole fairy tale thing with the puns. But what am I gonna do?
No, my sci-fi upbringing is weird. It's not not a lot. No, it's just weird. Lots of B movies and stuff like that. And
The Attack of the 50-Foot Woman and Attack of the Killer Tomatoes.
oh,
and
Attack of the
all
Killer
that other stuff.
Tomatoes! I stayed up as a child and watched it with the duvet wrapped around me in the front room, as we called it, which was like a small second living room for when you have your granny over for tea. Critters! I stayed up with the VHS and recorded
Awesome.
Critters on Channel 4. I remember this clear as day on a wee little TV that had a built-in VCR, and I stopped and hit record again whenever the breaks was on because it was on TV at the time. And I recorded
I have an
all the
important question.
Critters.
Have you
I
seen
have an important
Grabbers?
question. Is Tremors sci-fi?
Yeah.
Yes,
Why?
and I have watched the first 3, and then it got shit.
Watch
Why
it.
is
You'll find
Tremors
out.
sci-fi
You'll see
Ru-
it.
rather than just horror or comedy horror?
It's because of their interpretation of where the graboids came from.
Yeah.
But I didn't think that came till later.
No. They called it aliens and mad stuff and government experiments and all in the first movie, which I would say their relevance of where they thought it came from give it sci-fi. Once you came to the 3rd and 4th and 5th, and it's got completely out of control now. I won't watch them, but it explains it and gives you reasons and all, and completely, I would consider it non-canon because they've literally got one guy and a money-making scheme. They've got the explosive guy. It's just lots of bombs and blowing shit up at the minute.
Right. Anyway,
What
I've
about
got a
killer
question for
clowns
Lilith.
from outer space?
I've got a question for Lilith.
Yes.
Sure.
Did you end your marriage or lose your religion first?
Technically religion.
Was it in any way related to you ending your marriage?
Sort of? How can I put this? Have you ever known a person in a relationship with a narcissist?
Yes.
Okay, so you know how they're madly in love at first and somehow everything functions in this weird fairy tale logic,
Yes.
and then slowly they become this horrible person, but you feel like you can't notice because you still have this whole horrible fairy tale backstory you're attached to?
If only you can calm them and they get confident, then they'll stop being an abusive asshole. Yes.
Right, except it's not really abuse, it's stress because blah, 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 whatever.
It's actually my fault because he didn't understand what I meant by that. Uh-huh.
Yeah, and he obviously just misremembered that. He's not gaslighting me because I don't know what that is, and yada, yada, yada. Okay, so you have to understand that in addition to being at least narcissistic, if not a technical narcissist, my ex-husband is out of his goddamn fucking mind. Now, I mean this in a literal sense. When 2 different doctors hear descriptions from different people of your behavior and just kind of go, huh, he sounds schizophrenic. That's not a diagnosis, but it's a pretty big fucking indicator that something is rotten in the state of Denmark.
Yep.
Now, so we have this narcissistic never admit you're wrong bullshit combined with the we're meant to be together soulmates bullshit, which of course is horribly empowered in just the worst possible fucking way by Christianity and the God plan and the blah blah blah, all that shit.
And only meant for one person.
Yes, and he's God's perfect plan, and maybe if it doesn't work out, maybe he'll have a plan B for you, but it'll never be what his true plan was, and as glorious as, blah, blah, bullshit. Anyway, this is one of the many reasons that I fucking hate Christianity. If there was a person, I would kill it slowly and sleep like a baby afterwards. What is it?
I would at least try.
Life would be short and its death long. When I found it. But so you take that and then you have me come down with anxiety and depression because, obviously, trying to get better, going to the doctor, being responsible, trying to find a way to, because of course I can't see forest trees. And then you have a hellspawn of bad things happening in my extended family or nearly happening, or heart attacks that are survived and then other things that are not. And so right in the middle of all of that, I'm at my wit's end with God. It's not that I left because I was, mad at God, but I was mad enough at God to stop making fucking excuses for him. So I wasn't willing to take the half-assed explanations at face value and just have faith that all the problems would eventually be answered. And then I told the story on Neil's channel, when I realized that this God was literally demonic, and I could read it in the fucking text of the Bible itself. It was a composite of earlier, pagan, brutal, silly little, completely not even, there would be no chance I would ever consider them real gods. I finally snapped out of it. Now, since my ex-husband's insanity is at least partly religious based, or well, let's just say it's empowered by Christianity.
I was
Because,
gonna say fed. Yes.
Fed, yes. Fed, validated, because the Spirit speaks to us and we are Spirit-filled and, the Lord, blah, blah, whatever bullshit. You can come up with all the excuses in the universe. Well, if you haven't heard them, you just listen to, take a course in Pat Robertson if you can stomach it, have some whiskey hand. But anyway.
No, thank you.
I know. You know what I'm talking about with all the empowering bullshit. So when I became an atheist and I was exploring it before I actually, oh God, this is actually false. Actually 100% false. I knew something was wrong, but there was a tick over moment where I'm like, oh fuck, this is all bullshit. And I had 3 days of just emotional collapse because I really, really, really believed and really based my identity on it because I'd been psychologically abused into doing so from my first spoken word. So at that point, he became more directly abusive. And he hadn't been physically abusive with me. And part of the reason that I wasn't certain I was being abused or if we were just having a rough patch because it wasn't physical. And a lot of things said or frustrations taken out, is it really intentionally that manipulative? It's really hard to tell. But there was one time when he told me to put something of his down. I was grabbing my card out of his wallet, or something. And I didn't.
Not a sign at all there.
He grabbed me from behind and shook me.
Yeah.
And I went, okay, I'm out. At that moment, I was like, okay, this is a clear indicator. We have now started touching the line of physical violence. Not, obviously, I'm not sticking around for this to get worse. It's clearly gotten worse. This is worse.
Yeah.
This is not acceptable. If this is far worse than I was aware of, I'm getting out. And then, of course, then my father had another heart attack and all the rest of it. And so I was in this very awkward position where I had to survive in the relationship, not setting off anything worse than constant verbal beratement and attack that was just going on. Anyway, waiting for a time when my family would have enough resources, because I was by this point cut off from resources in my church because I went and told them the truth and they asked me to stop being part of the choir.
That was their solution.
On my birthday, because I fucking can't even. That was a really shitty thing to do. And not just to me. But anyway, so I had to. And then I had to sort of also psychologically come to terms with it. So this, I became an atheist in October of 2015. In January of 2016, my father had his second heart attack. Not fucking surprising after the year 2015 had been, which was far worse than I've covered. And then I called my parents after a little bit of, after he was doing physically better, after he'd had his second stent put in. And I said, I can't save him. I'm going to save myself. And they were like, we will buy you a ticket tonight. And I said, no. I'm going to move out there. We're going to do this slowly. So, he had put me in the toilet financially and I couldn't work because I, was completely emotionally just drained beyond what you can just imagine. And so I worked out over several months, visited my family, got things set up, made sure I could have the cat, moved us both out to my family because I didn't insist he come, but I just said I was going. And so he ended up coming because he had nothing else he could do. And then in the summer, actually, it's interesting because I lived in the interior of BC. I came out here to see my best friend that summer to try and, get her advice on whether or not I should leave him, because while some part of me knew I was obviously leaving him, I still had to go through all the psychological processing to do that, and to come to terms with all the shit that had happened. And so he was gone. There was this awful period where he like walked off in a huff and then tried to come back and then did all this stuff. And so I after he had mentioned divorce a couple times, but of course he can't commit to anything because he's crazy. I sort of, there was this awful week where I was just waiting for an argument to start and get bad enough that he would be pulled away enough that if I said, I want a divorce, he would snap back and walk away, but not snap back and attack.
Yeah.
Because abusive people are crazy, and you have to be careful with that shit. So it turned into this entire 6-month process, actually a year by the time we actually got him out of the house, of, coming to terms, planning disengagement, enacting support, enacting disengagement, slow down time, push away physically, and it was this whole epic, fucked up. Ugh. Yeah. It was a bad time.
Do you have any contact with him now?
Oh, fuck no. Thanks. Fucking reason. It's actually, if you're familiar with narcissists, they're very emotionally manipulative. So the day he walked away, he tried to do this alter to our relationship, probably in a last-ditch attempt to play on my emotions and either be able to come back and use me until he could come up with an escape plan that worked better for him or whatever he thought he was doing. I don't even know. And he set up pictures of us together and my dried wedding bouquet and all the rest of it. And 3 love letters from me to him.
Creepy.
Except it wasn't
Just
3
saying,
love letters.
creepy.
Hasn't
No,
spoken in ages and just slips in with, he's creepy.
So epically creepy, but this is the funny part. They weren't 3 love letters. There were 2 love letters, and then there was a note from a friend of mine in high school telling me to be a pen pal with her from 20 fucking years back or something. Okay, not 20, but still. I don't even know how this thing survived. It obviously fell into a box of memorabilia unintentionally and was preserved, and he found it while he was sorting through possessions and thought he didn't even read them. He was trying to do this big emotional manipulative play. He didn't even read the thing he was trying to manipulate me with.
Like a flat earther. Check out this quote. Look at this paper. This paper disagrees with you. Doesn't matter. This one quote.
Exactly. He's a heckin' idiot. So,
I don't understand the thinking. You used to love me. You don't anymore, but you used to love me. See, I've got evidence.
Yeah.
Okay.
They've got an ideal view of the world in their head that fits you in a place.
I was a malfunctioning appliance. I wasn't doing what he wanted me to do.
You weren't fitting into the right place in his head.
Exactly.
You have to fix that. You're the one that's at fault. You're not fitting.
Exactly. Obviously.
You said you'd love me. You said you'd need me. You don't anymore. Why? Oh, you took it back?
Because you're a shitty asshole.
Exactly.
Don't be a shitty asshole, and people won't leave you quite so much. But anyway, so that was a whole, So basically, I had to overturn my 2 deepest held and most powerful beliefs in less than a year.
How the hell did you find Twitter? And when was that? Was that in relation to this?
I found Twitter. I had started a blog before I deconverted because I knew I was struggling with the concept of faith and I wanted to kind of write and get my thoughts out. But when I finally realized that no, this is actual bullshit shit, and obviously my husband was not going to take that well, to say the least. I found Twitter as an escape and as a place to actually talk about these things, because I sure as fuck couldn't talk about it with him. Goddamn lunatic. So yeah, it was just, yeah, it was a really powerful thing for me. It really helped. And it turned out that a lot of what I had to say had impact in different situations. And so it was like, all right, this is, yeah, I need this and I can do some good with it. So this is perfect.
Was Lilith Liberated your first account?
Yes.
At the time, what were you liberated from?
Christianity. And do you know the story of Lilith?
Yes.
Okay, well, then you know that Lilith liberated herself. She is the only person to ever leave paradise of her own accord, and she did it because she wasn't going to submit to a demanding wanker.
I love wanker. Wanker is just one of them British terms. And like,
Okay, this is what... Go on.
oh no, I was just gonna say just for the talk's sake, just to say cunt. I love that.
It never even occurred to me. Is your name not Lilith?
Oh no, my real name is not Lilith. I go by it because, well, it's a persona I've adopted, and like, it's who I like to identify with, and also I don't like. When I say it was a rough year, my nephew, my parents' only grandchild, also died that year, 2015. So they know that I am completely out of religion and ready to, but they don't need to be directly physically dragged into and forced to observe me blowtorching the thing that now is their only comfort.
Yeah.
I will burn it to the ground, but I'm not going to go for the cheap shot on people I care about when I know that
there's nothing to be gained.
No.
Unless you think you can actually free them in a way that would really take years and years of coming out of, you're just going to hurt them.
Exactly.
I totally agree.
And it's a bit like it's like heroin. You know, you want to get off heroin. That's a good idea. But if you've been on it long enough, you need to at least go on methadone. You know, if they want to go on some light Christianity to keep themselves sane, fine. Go ahead. I am not going to try and take that from you. Just okay. So yeah.
How did you meet Rennie?
Sorry?
How did you meet Rennie?
That was in my list. I didn't get to that. I've written.
You didn't get to that.
He's still.
Really?
I've written down.
No, I don't know. Yeah,
okay, I'm gonna ask my not so. How did you meet the
then.
hosts? How did you meet the other hosts of your shows?
Oh yeah. Oh well. I told you about Peter. Gonna go for it. He was the one who picked up Robert and Artemis. Although obviously I'd been doing lots of chatting with, with Robert, and at least in the sort of general conversations. But he had been a really big supporter and signal booster of mine at the very beginning of my account, because he was impressed by some of the some of the arguments I came back with. I think I do know a lot about Christianity. When you're trying that hard to hang on to it, you end up studying it a good deal and you learn a lot of crazy shit.
Peter did say, if you need Bible quotes, talk to Lilith.
Exactly.
I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically what he
well,
said.
he had
the two of them. They're so much more eloquent than me on Twitter.
I
just gotta shout at people.
I've had that and early episodes of Veritas. So you're talking to someone who is a Christian, they're like, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, excuse me, bitch. And I start just quoting off verses and verses and verses. I'm not even saying where they're from. I don't even fucking remember. I've memorized like a third of the text. I don't fucking look up
Oh,
references.
it's worth. I read the Bible repeat multiple times before I lost my memory.
Well, you see, I was listening to children's storybook versions of the Bible, of the evangelical part, where they feel it morally necessary to do correct quotes far more often than is necessary for the story. I was listening to that voluntarily from the time I was 6.
See, there was a period of my life, and this is the problem I've got, is it was about my mid-20s that I lost my memory. So I know things from before then.
Just if I can interrupt, if anybody's running on a computer, Daily Atheist is premiering. Go and open it in a separate tab and make it mute the damn thing. Give the man a view. Daily Atheist is doing well. He's building an empire. I'm not even going to talk about his sub count and how he's doing so well. But yeah, open up Daily Atheist in another tab and then come back.
It's because he enticed me on his early shows.
Well, I appreciate you bringing him in. Dave, this is funny because Dave actually brought, I don't know if you were there, Wonder Lady, Dave brought Chris, the Daily Atheist, in on my New Year's Eve Quiplash stream, which went for like 5 hours, and halfway through became a giant LGBT takeover, where I was the only straight white male on the fucking stream. And Dave brought Chris in, and Chris said the other day, he's like, yeah, Robbie's first stream I met, I thought that man was gay. No. Not that that's a derogatory term or anything, but no, I'm a big boring cis white male that likes big booties, but it's, that's just his first impression.
Yeah, don't use that as your introduction.
I cannot lie.
He's doing the Evil God Monster of Abraham. The Book of Death. He's right. Actually, I'm starting a series. A part of the reason I wanted to use the Snap camera app thing.
Yeah, the Snap camera is quite good. I'm hoping to make this have pig ears and slightly.
Oh, that'll be perfect.
Yeah, make it ever so slightly more round on the nose and pig-like, and round off the chin. And I need some pig ears. I don't want to lose the hat. I like the big brain hidden underneath the hat that explodes sometimes.
That's a very logic thing to do. But, so Renee, we had chatted just as part of, just general things. And then one night he was just kind of having a difficult time. I think it was the anniversary of something rough for him. And of course, up late for him is normal for me. So he sort of sent out a tweet and I responded, oh, how you doing? Are you okay? Kind of just, talked and just, like I would for anyone. But then he was like, I really appreciate that. And I really needed someone to talk to right then. Well, great, And then we got together with Nick Suter and started chatting. And we sort of got a little DM group where we were all chit-chatting together. And then, he wanted to just, it's like, well, if we're chatting, we could record it and talk about things. And so we, bumped around a couple of ideas, and this is what it turned into.
Did you never think about going on camera? You don't seem to mind.
We sort of started with that when Nick was helping us at the beginning. I have a shit camera. If and when...
You're very red. I have to say, your red on your color is way up.
Yeah, you know what? I'll put my sweater back on.
I can say nothing. No, like don't make yourself overly hot. But I'm a floating blue head. I can't complain. But mine does autofocus. Critical has seen how bad my autofocus is, and I am saving for a new camera. I've got two.
I've set up a Patreon, but I haven't really sort of opened it to people. I'm gonna see if. Hopefully I can fundraise on there, get a decent computer, because I've got like a tiny little Chromebook that is just, it does not have the processing power to really do proper videos.
I actually, now don't get me wrong, it's not like it's the same price, but I had to dip into my savings to buy my computer. I did because I purely wanted to stream, but at the exact same time, I wanted to go to Rammstein. They have never been to Northern Ireland before, and they're coming this year. And because I bought the computer, if I bought Rammstein tickets as well, my woman would just beat the fuck out of me. You can't justify both of them, you know?
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's the streaming thing. That's why I don't really do it right now. I'm hoping to fundraise and save and get a decent computer, and then I'm totally open to streaming.
I can produce or do anything you need for a helping hand with the StreamYards or the OBS, Lilith. It's not a problem. Do you know what we should do? We should talk on Discord.
We can do that.
Don't let your Discord turn into Peter Gonna Go For It's one who spooky calls. Like, it's empty. Nobody talks in it. But yeah, we could definitely sort through that and get you up and running. It's not that hard to get you up and running.
Yeah, that's just, it's, well, and also, honestly, the last couple of months have been, you know, just once a week with Veritas Voices was all I could keep up because, you know, I moved across the province in November. Obviously, running up to that, I had to find a place to live, set that all up, move in November. December hits, it's holidays and all that shit. And I'm like, okay, this is not the moment to start something back up. So I'm like, okay, now, January, okay. I've landed. I'm gonna find a way to make videos that don't suck visually, like don't have like horrible camera of me, and then fundraise, get a better camera, stream more. You know, this is sort of broad brush laying out what I want to do with it.
Yeah, well, that was one of my other questions, which was, yeah, Dave, don't laugh at me. I sent you a picture of my question, so you can't cheat. Topic of channel. What is the topic of Veritas Voices? I know they're gonna go for it is mainly Peter's channel. He started it. You're a host. You started off wearing a mask at the start. I do remember you wearing a mask.
Yeah, I was still living close to my family, and I don't know. It was just sort of a psychological thing more than anything.
Floating head. No need to explain. Floating head.
Fair enough. Besides, it was a pretty mask.
It was a pretty mask, yes. But
yes.
You know, what is the topic of Veritas Voices? Is it going to be political? Is it going to be fuck the church? Is it
largely talking about religious topics and just taking different perspectives? Renee grew up in Germany. Religion was never a big thing in his world. I grew up evangelical. All of the crazy. So we can look at these things from wildly different perspectives and be like, the fuck? People actually think that? You know?
I should probably ask him this, but you know, you're here. Where did he get his knowledge from?
I have no idea. He started researching it because actually when he got on Twitter, he started to realize that there were people who actually took this shit seriously. And it was really weird. And so he started researching it because he's that type of person.
Yeah, him going through the Quran at the moment is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
What did you want to ask about the Twitter ban?
Yeah, would she explain that?
Okay, fair enough. I missed that.
You were too busy watching AXP with your woman.
I quoted Christopher Hitchens, and I did not identify it as such, which I should have, because when Jack Van Impe died, the scaremongering, lying, end of world predicting con man who made a fortune bilking old ladies and making people terrified that the world would end every other day, I said what Christopher Hitchens said when Jerry Falwell died. Give him an enema, you can bury him in a fucking matchbox.
I don't understand why the end of the world cults people continue to follow them after their predictions fail.
Oh, that's actually psychologically. Commitment increases after a prediction fails.
Yeah.
How?
Well,
because no, seriously, no, she's right. Sorry, no, I'll let you say it, Lilith, because I've been drinking. Go on ahead.
No,
I'm in agreement with you because I've read the same thing.
Regarding prophets, go watch Theremin Trees. There's 2 videos about prophets. I believe it's in the second one. He talks about there was this small cult started up, and actually like an anthropologist or like a psychologist got some people to like join and report. And when the end of the world prediction failed, one person left and everybody else described an increased commitment. Because the thing is, I mean, there was a laughable excuse of, you know, oh, our group has generated such a force for good in the world that God has, you know, postponed the end of the world, even though the people were totally like, oh, awesome, we're going to be the only righteous ones and everybody else is going to burn. So what kind of fucking force for good in the world is that? I don't know. But the thing is, the principle is that the more you commit to something, the more you feel you have to lose by letting it go. It's the fallacy of throwing good money after bad. And sorry.
Sunk cost fallacy in economics.
Yeah, exactly. The sunk cost fallacy, very much. But it's also, it's the sunk cost fallacy, but it goes with all the emotional baggage of that too. Not just of sunk cost of time and energy and ideology, but it's formed a part of your identity.
Yeah.
What I did in admitting I was wrong about the most important thing in my fucking life for the whole of it was that took way more courage than a lot of people understand.
Definitely.
That took, and especially because it had been so early ingrained as a thing that you can't question. People who've never had this happen, they don't understand what it's like, because when a normal person, if you're wrong, you're embarrassed, you're annoyed, you can learn something. If a Christian is wrong, you will be told by the only being in the universe that matters that you're worthless scum and sent to burn for eternity. So the barrier to admitting you're wrong is massive. Plus ordinary psychology, pride, ego, don't want to admit I'm wrong, don't want to look a fool.
How do you reconcile that, though? Okay, going back to you. How do you reconcile that with the fact that people are out there saying, we don't believe, we think your hell is bullshit? Because if it's as bad as you say it is, do you think that we don't believe it's as bad as you say it is?
Yes. Okay, there's a couple of levels to this. And it depends on whether or not you're trying to be intellectually honest. Now, it took a lot of work to get to the point where I could be, because obviously I had been trained not to be, but I did want to be honest. So I had to work my way towards even understanding what that looked like. So I realized that atheists were not like what they had been predicted. But you see all these idiots saying things like, oh, atheists know the truth. They just...
oh, you only want to sin. You just want to sin. I love sin.
You suppress the truth and unrighteousness. You don't want the judgment of God. You... Basically, it's some version of...
But you're still going to get the judgment and the burning in hell. And the burning in hell is so horrific.
Yeah, but the thing is, the way I see it, and this is from a person who isn't coming from a religious experience, is you've got people who are wrong, but the thing is, their hearts and their social lives and their happiness revolves in a social community, and they've gotten used to it. And anyone who's been, quote unquote, abused in any way by someone that they love can make excuses for them. And also can make excuses for facts not showing up. Because there's part of the social, like, human interaction things where you're trying to please people who you think love you. And they constantly, from what I see, you know, go to Facebook and watch religious people interact. They're always like, I love you, God loves you. If you then turn around and go, we've been lied to, you can see that their social dynamic would disappear. And everybody has their own limits. It's like, you don't know if you can hug someone or not when you're, you know, in certain situations. And the thing is, these people are constantly mentally hugged with a concept. Right or wrong, they're going to want to continue to be loved and approved of.
It's still what's familiar, even if it's the creepy uncle hug.
Yeah.
It's known, and that is part of it. But there's also, and I have to include this, is I've listened to Pendulette, and he once said that, I can't believe that Christians really believe this, because if I truly believed that there was a hell and I was going to be damned if I did something wrong, you could never make me sin. It's absolutely, you could never get me to do that. And it sounds perfectly rational.
Yes.
To an emotionally and intellectually honest person. But the thing is, if you genuinely believe in hell, and you really believe most of the people you know are going there, it will break your mind. You have to compartmentalize that belief. You either have to go full goddamn Westboro Baptist Church and scream at people on the streets, or you have to compartmentalize. You have to exercise faith that God knows what he's doing, and the Lord judges the heart, and who he sees not as man sees, and all the rest of it. Because if you don't, you will lose your fucking mind. And a lot of, there's a psychological thing that's been observed where if a person does a certain amount of good, they kind of get like virtue exhaustion. Mm-hmm. And I genuinely think many of the horrors, the truly horrific shit done by Christian leaders is a direct byproduct of various forms of purity culture, not just sexual purity culture, but that's a pretty good example of it, where you've got the thing you're not allowed to do, and then but you're thinking about it and you're focusing on it too much. So we're also not going to do this that might imply this, and you're building fences and fences and fences until soon you can't move at all without breaking anything, something.
Once you break a little thing, you may as well.
At some point, you're just like, fuck it, I don't care. Sorry, I miss you, Lady Faye.
Oh, bye, or hopefully come back. I'm not sure what happened.
He has an obligation to get to, apparently.
Oh, didn't see that.
Oh, I just seen that too, yeah. Thank you for the private chat.
Yeah. So that's the thing. I mean, it's really horrible shit that wears you down to the point where you just can't. You have to take the relief of the dishonest psychological props that have been put right in front of you, and where you have all these people who are leaders in your life telling you that it's a virtue to accept them. So you just fucking do.
Okay, next stupid question. Do you believe that the majority of top Christian leaders believe?
Damn. Someone give that man a mic.
No. It's possible to have both. There are definitely a good number of con men. What's his fuck with the, the guy who was attacked by the reporter interviewed by the reporter about. Hi, Chris.
Hello. Thanks for turning up, Chris.
Dave.
His third private jet or whatever the fuck it was.
Oh yes,
that guy.
He's a con man.
Oh yeah, he's a that guy.
Goddamn fucking con man.
Scaler uses him as his intro. That guy.
You take someone like Ray Comfort, who is as intellectually dishonest as it gets. I mean, especially with his creationist bullshit crap. And he's so intellectually dishonest. Yet, in a certain sense, I think he does believe. But he maintains that belief through a form of lying to himself. So,
yes.
Is the belief authentic? It's become cocooned in all this psychological bullshit to the point where I don't even think he would know if he didn't.
I mean, I was watching Kent Hovind talk about his estate.
Oh, Jesus fuck.
And he is, without a doubt, just a con man.
Oh.
I don't think there is an ounce
yeah.
of him that believes any of this is true. And he's having these Christians come out and build this fucking park for him.
Oh, is he at that again? Isn't that the one he already went to jail for? God damn that man. No, He is an absolute con man. I don't think he gives a single flying fuck if it's true or not. I don't think he does.
Money. See him as
worries
Ken
me
Hogan.
because I think his son might.
His son has like
I
his
haven't
son was. I'm kind of iffy on that too. I think his son is very dishonest and blind in a way, but he also was abused by his father a great deal. Like to the point where his father would make funny stories about beating his son.
Wow.
And he would tell them from the pulpit regularly. So Eric took over his father's empire of crazy bullshit and has been giving the exact same presentations his father gave 20, 30 years ago. Word for word verbatim. And he's been selling this shit. I don't even think he would know how to do anything else.
Yeah, that's exactly it. They're fucking stuck doing it.
But I don't know if he really believes and is just like, fuck it, I'm going to make all the money I can off of this shit.
Hoven and
Or
Howard.
if he has wound himself in so many psychological knots trying to please his father, trying to do the right thing, try to whatever the fuck he wanted. I don't really know. I didn't know the man, so I don't know him well enough to judge what he would have wanted. But it's possible that in a certain convoluted, increasingly inherently dishonest sense, he does believe.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I also don't think Ken Ham is really sincere. I think he's just a con man. I could be persuaded differently if I met him, but the way he shuts down all dissent, it's not demonstrative of a person who actually thinks he's in the right. I still haven't got him to block. I should actually tweet something to him so he'll block me on this new account. You know, he blocked me on my first tweet to him on the old account.
Who, Eric or Kent?
Ken Ham. Ken
Ham first. Mike first tweet as well. Ken Ham.
Yeah.
I'm a block virgin.
What did you say to him?
I honestly can't remember. No idea. Usually I call them liars. Because if they say something about atheist, I will call them. I will just say, do you think it's okay? Why do you think it's okay to lie? It depends what they say.
That's what I said. It was better, worse than I stole from Christopher Hitchens, as I often do, and said, so tell me, how does it feel to lie to children for a living?
That's I like that.
the video I would talk to
if hasn't blocked me. Second?
If I was talking to Kent Hoven's son, it would be the discussion he had with Banana Man about if there was no God, they'd kill everyone. That's the first thing I would go for.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think I upset his. He went to a school and he asked for some atheists to come on Facebook and do live chats with people.
Right.
I upset him.
I have not been blocked by anybody yet.
Me either.
And you're not trying. I mean, to be fair, we didn't try. We just
No,
talked.
I think no. In fact, my old account was blocked by Steve Shives too, which I was really disappointed by.
I thought Steve Shive was all right.
Block is annoying me. He's blocked me.
Yeah, because he's become such a fucking pissy little bitch, and it annoys me because I really liked his Atheist Reads series. He's gotten a little too vengeful social justice warrior-y lately, but like he had a lot of good stuff. I respected him in the community, and you know what I said that he blocked me? He had an article that he posted that I retweeted because I thought it was important to get out. I was like in agreement with, yeah, this is good, we should retweet this. But then I made a comment below, you know, I want to signal boost this, but it would be a little bit easier if you hadn't blocked quite so many people.
I found him from a reading review. That's how I found him, and thought the first reading review, I can't remember what book it was. I actually think, what do you call that book that was written by the atheist that then became a Christian and they made a movie out of it?
Oh, Lee Strobel, Case for Christ?
Yes, it was a book review on that I first found. But I would totally agree with everything you just said, Lilith. He went that entire route, and All
Yeah,
right,
he
we give him
became
credit for growing a
wanker.
beard, but no. It's about the only good
Well,
thing I
he
have to
became
say.
a
out of
wanker.
it.
He became a wanker, which is too bad because I liked his Atheistry series. I really do. I still do.
Well, Chris, thanks for jumping in just as we're dying off.
Sorry, yes, please.
Let's
Chris,
no, yeah.
Well,
Thank you for.
Chris
I
is
hate
building
that I
an
can't flip my camera.
Chris is building an empire and doing very well. I'm sure. I'm afraid to check his social blade because his graphs are going to be more than 45 degrees more than mine. Damn.
Yeah, I remember you and I compared, and we weren't too far apart. I had like 79 or something.
Yeah, you've done. No,
79.
we'll not talk about it because you make me feel small. I feel like no.
You know what the difference is, don't you?
He's on Facebook and like we all
no,
love Chris.
Facebook's-
We all love Chris.
It's
but,
because he goes on at a time that no one else goes on.
That's a good point. I do.
You're competing with everyone that's big. He's competing with no one at the moment.
No one, right.
He's literally just wiping the floor and
And
getting
we're-
more and more people as they come away.
And we're fixing to. I'm going to start doing an evening stream too. I was actually going to ask Miss Lilith if she would come do co-host or guest on our show one of these days. I just haven't had the chance yet. You know.
no, yes, by all means, send me a message on Twitter, and we'll set up a chat.
Perfect. Figure it out.
Pick
Thank you.
a topic or pick a Pick a
Well,
topic.
So, in case you don't know, I have a morning show that runs up at 6 o'clock Mountain every day, except for Saturday. We shoot at 8 o'clock on Saturdays.
Yeah, you changed that
Early.
the week after I left, which was a rush for me to get home.
Bad
So I could
man,
be
yeah.
on time for that. And then the week I decided, man, I have to, keep the woman happy and can't make her hide from the camera.
Of course.
And then you
So-
went
so-
and made it 2 hours later so that I wouldn't have to rush. Thanks for that.
And I have guest hosts who are also content creators come on for usually a week at a time and guest host. And then we have, so we can build our community together. Right? So you bring your subs, take my subs with you, and then we also have special guests. Tomorrow we're going to have Justin Scott from American Atheist, Iowa. The next day we're going to have Devin
That's
Graham.
the second
from
time
Iowa,
Justin's coming on, just
Florida.
to point out.
You just managed to get hold of the American Atheists mailing list.
Just got lucky. They contacted me. Actually, just like you said, I guess the show got them. And they
Actually, American Atheist contacted me to write an article for Secular World, John from there. And now I'm writing a couple more articles. Actually, I have to get back in touch with him. I haven't been in touch with him since I lost my account.
Can we all pretend that me and Dave's from America? No, we can't do Dave. I'll put on an American accent. Can we get on that mailing list as well? It's doubled your sub count. It has. It's really helped. It's been good, Chris. But you do put out good content, and daily helps. Daily.
Well, for those, also, a lot of people don't know. Jen didn't know. She guest hosted my show the other day, and she didn't know that I put out scripted videos. That's been my whole bag. I just started the live stream, and so I just dropped as you guys know, some of you guys know, CC and
The problem is you tend to your issue there is you tend to do them now, and the Australians aren't awake.
Well, that's kind of part of the truth. It kind of
The
varies
live
on
streams, I
Sunday as to when I
guarantee
drop them.
I guarantee you the
my-
live streams are getting you more view time, though.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, the live streams are on a certain time of the day. The scripted videos, I try to drop them on Sunday just so I can be the daily. Because I don't.
I generally watch them on a Monday on the way to work because they're only about 15-20 minutes long, and that's the drive to work while I wait to get in, and that's my
tops. Yeah.
Yeah. In saying that, there were 2 things about your description. Did you upgrade your Twitter?
I did.
Have you
upgraded
added my
Twitter.
channel link in the fucking description yet? Because you pick on me every day. I need to be in that Twitter link.
I will go put your chat. I will put you in there. You will be in there. I'll put a lame MathPig link in there.
I
and
know.
just leave it.
I was explaining to Lilith earlier. We were talking about self-deprecation.
I've got this, by the way.
Huh?
I've got this.
There you go. Take it with you everywhere.
I'm actually working on a little hoodie top on Teespring for Mummy Says Blame MathPig, and I'm going to get the daughter one that matches.
That's great. Yeah, that's wonderful.
No, there's a thing I said on an episode of Beyond Belief with Peter. We were speaking to a young Christian, and we were talking about the rise of Christianity. I said, there were 2 different versions of Christianity, and unsurprisingly, the one that didn't make you cut your dick up was popular. I have to find the actual quote and put that on a t-shirt. Because Christianity, because Paul figured out a version that didn't make you cut your dick up.
Yeah, but
That's
it's
a
now
good one.
just it's now just
I
become.
wonder why they called them the Gentiles.
Gentile Gentiles.
That's right. Well, guys, I hate to do it, but I'm gonna run. I gotta go do the thing with the wife. We're gonna feed dinner. She's waiting on me. So.
Oh, she just jumped
Yeah.
in to steal all my subs. All right, well, everybody, here's Chris.
That's right.
Go sub
That's
to
right.
Chris. You know. Oh man, totally.
I
Yeah.
really have to go too. I'm my throat's starting to get dry, and I need some food.
No, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, we've been running for an hour and 36 minutes. We're good. Lilith, really do appreciate everybody. All our links are in the description. Veritas, gonna go for it. All the bits and bobs and the thing with the stuff, as Chris says. And,
Thanks. It's
The thing with
lovely.
the stuff at the place.
Yeah,
For the
yeah.
stuff.
in the
The
place.
thing and the stuff. And Dave, it's wonderful to actually see you in the flesh.
It is
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah, Dave's working on stuff in the background, peeps. He's looking. He already bought the green sheet. He didn't buy a green screen. He just bought a green sheet. But he's getting there. You know, he's getting there. We're
6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
we're soon gonna see live stream Dave. I think there's gonna be more Dave.
Yes, we should.
That's a penis statue. That's their giant penis. The one, Dave, lean to your left. Wee bit more. There you go. There you go.
Sounds great. Penis cock.
Perfect!
Yes.
Okay, everybody, thank you very much for turning up. And yeah, we'll see you next time on the MathPig Show. Way!
Bye, Matthew.
Bye.